Everybody, my name, for those who don't know me, is Ben, and I am the first son of David. Alright,
I know my place in this family.
whenever I'm giving 80th birthday speeches, I like to start by looking back at what was happening around the time the guest of honour was born. It was a tough time in Australia in 1944, because of the Second World War. Clothing, food and petrol were all being rationed. Our population of almost 7.5 million was being led by the only PM Australia's ever had from WA, John Curtin. And our main exports were sheep's wool, rabbit skins, butter and flour. It's fair to say it was a much simpler time. Milk would be delivered to your front door by horse and cart. There was no television, so in the evenings families would gather around the radio to listen to things like variety shows, quiz shows, talent quests and the news. And one of the most popular pastimes was going to the movies, because they provided a form of escapism from the terrible things that were going on at the time in Europe. Some of the famous Australians that were born in the year 1944 include Paul Keating, Dick Smith, John Newcombe, Darren Hinch, Margaret Pomeranz, Ray Martin and Peter Allen. Also born in 1944 was Ralph and Betty Haynes' third child, Diana Lee. Puzzled by Grandma and Papa's choice for Mum's middle name, I looked back through the family tree to see if there was any reference to a Lee. Maybe a great-grandfather who'd acted with incredible bravery in a war, or a great-aunt who'd invented something that we're all still using today, and I couldn't find a thing. So I called Mum and I asked her. She said she wasn't 100% sure, but that it was probably because it sounded cool. She also said that it could have been that they were influenced by the Kiwi singer Dinah Lee, but she was only one at the time. So the origins of Mum's middle name remain a bit of a mystery. Now, just on a bit of a tangent, I also want to bring up that decades ago, in a moment of curiosity, I asked her who I was named after, and she said the Michael Jackson song Ben. Whilst not being thrilled about being named after a song about a rat sung by a suspected child molester, I accepted the fact and moved on with my life. But I was born in May 71 and only this year discovered that Ben the Song was released in 1972. So the origins of my name remain a bit of a mystery too. Growing up, Mum was the apple of her dad's eye, and according to her brothers and sisters, she knew it. She was the first child of Ralph and Betty's marriage that Ralph had been settled enough to spend a lot of time with her, because her older siblings, Carolyn and Daniel, had been born during an intense period of World War II. She's beautiful now, but in her youth she was a drop-dead stunner. Had she been born a Gen Zer rather than a baby boomer, she would have had a very successful career as a social media influencer. Being as easy on the eye as she was, she caught the attention of many a suitor, including an Italian count called Vittorio, a bloke called Gert, and in a nod to fellas with proper Aussie names, there was a stint with Graham Cotton. And I've managed to track Graham down after all these years to tell us how good Mum was as a kisser in her teens. Graham, come on out! Mum once told us that she went out on a date with a different bloke every night of the week. Now that's popular.
We did that then.
But you can't do that without being a little emotionally detached. And according to her siblings, Mum had a bit of a Teflon coating when it came to affairs of the heart. As soon as a bloke started to getting too close, Mum would simply move on to the next one. It's a wonder that she ever married. But as I mentioned in Mum and Dad's 50th wedding anniversary speech, Dad's guerrilla tactic of dropping his marriage proposal into an otherwise ordinary conversation caught her completely off guard. Moving on to Mum's education, in the late 50s there wasn't an expectation that women would go to university. So whilst Mum was very bright and could quite easily have followed her brothers into something like medicine or town planning, she was instead sent to a business college where she learned how to touch type and take notes in shorthand so that she could become an executive assistant or receptionist. That may seem like a terrible waste of potential, and it was, not just for Mum, but for countless numbers of other young women. But Mum made up for it by becoming what her brother Stephen called a doctor in waiting. After working as a receptionist for a number of surgical specialists, Mum very rapidly became an expert in everything medical. All it would take would be for someone to mention a disease in passing and it would set Mum off. All of Mum's friends learnt a hell of a lot during those years because at the hint of anything medical in a conversation, Mum would tell you everything there was to know about it. Working as a medical receptionist also taught Mum how to keep a straight face. In the 1980s, she worked for a proctologist and became extremely good at dealing with men who had slipped over in the shower and fallen on a lemon, or a carrot, or a G.I. Joe. Mum would be like, oh, I can completely understand how that could have happened. Let's book you in to see the doctor. Now, the intention of this speech is not to roast Mum, but an appraisal of her life would not be complete without a mention of her cooking. Mum and Dad used to host dinner parties for the Americans that would be on the walking tours that Mum conducted around the city. Mum must have received some exceptional feedback the first time she served mango chicken to her guests. Because from that dinner on, that is what every group of Yanks got to eat when they visited. And she was very economical in the kitchen. She once had her brother Daniel and his son Simon over for dinner and served up some mince and peas. Halfway through the meal, she exclaimed, "Aunt Freezer's marvellous. This mince has been in the freezer for 3 years." Poor Simon nearly choked. So, to try and get a handle on the real Diana Lee Mottram, I asked her a few questions. The first one was, what advice would you give to your 21-year-old self? She said that she would have told herself to go to university. She said the reason she didn't was because she suffered imposter syndrome when at school. She struggled to focus in primary school. And when she got to secondary school and suddenly found study interesting, she started getting good marks. Her worry was that if she continued on to uni that she would be found out. I also asked her, what's the secret to living a happy life? And she said that while she wasn't sure there was a secret to living a happy life, good friends, neighbours and family make everything easier. She said having a great community around you helps you to make you feel life is worthwhile. It's a great point, and it's wonderful to see so many of Mum's friends, neighbours and family here today. I also asked her who would be the 5 guests she'd have over for a mango chicken dinner if she could choose anyone in the world, living or otherwise. She said Queen Elizabeth II because she had a great sense of humour, Mary Queen of Denmark because she's done an amazing job of coping with her new job, learning Danish and raising 4 kids, all the while looking stunning. Colonel William Light, who, as I'm sure many of you know, once stood on Montefiore Hill and indicated where he thought the Adelaide Oval should be situated. And lastly, she said her parents because there was so much she wished she'd talk to them about. I asked her, now that she's lived through 8 decades, which one has been the best? She loved the 60s when she was aged between 16 and 26 because she had a lot of fun travelling, joining Qantas and marrying. She also loved the 90s when she was about 50 because it was a simpler time, her boys had grown up, she had financial security and not only had more time to do the things she wanted to do but was still young enough to enjoy it. A couple of years ago, when I gave the speech at Mum and Dad's 50th wedding anniversary, I asked them what their greatest achievement together was. And predictably, they said raising 1 exceptional son and 2 good ones. So, to prepare for today's speech, I asked Mum what her greatest achievement as an individual was. She said that it somehow came to light once that one of the things her boys were most proud of was these little pottery houses that she used to make in the 80s. She was really chuffed by that. She also mentioned making the semi-finals of the State Golf Championships and only losing when she missed a putt on the 3rd playoff hole.
Caddying for me, Heather.
And she said how much she loves tour guiding. Collecting 50 American tourists off a ship, taking them around Adelaide, getting lots of compliments on the way, and then returning 50 American tourists, give or take, back to their boat at the end of the day.
And giving them mango chicken.
She specified that she always gets them back on time. I also asked Dad what Mum's greatest achievement was. His first response was that she's helped write a national course to train potential tour guides, which is something she should be really proud of. His second response was that she has made a wonderful homemaker over the years. She's kept everything very clean. I reckon that might be selling Mum a little bit short. So let me offer up some other options. She's a wonderful painter that regularly sells her artwork for what can be thousands of dollars. She has a huge circle of friends, and as her brother Stephen said, that doesn't happen by accident. She's incredibly loyal to her family and friends, supportive of them in their endeavours, and is always there for them when they need her. And she's always put a lot of work into charity. In the 1980s, she did a lot of work to support a family of refugees from Cambodia. She found them a home in Mile End and found the father, Kim Say, who was a silversmith by trade, a job. Kim Say continued working in that job for 40 years and has only recently retired. Over the years, she's also done a lot of work with St John's Ambulance, no doubt enlightening paramedics throughout SA with her knowledge of everything medical. And she worked for many years in an Anglicare clothing store. Now, I can't speak for Marcus and Henry, but I still have in my wardrobe many of the second-hand shirts that used to arrive periodically in the mail. And to this day, she still volunteers as a high-end escort, usherette at Baroque Hall.
Yay!
She's lived a wonderful life and she's been an outstanding mother, mother-in-law, wife, sister and friend. Please join me in raising a glass to Diana Lee Mottram. Happy 80th birthday, Mum. Happy birthday! We're going to sing it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mum. Happy birthday to you. All right, now Marcus and Henry want to come up and say a couple of words.
Ben said all the main words. We're going to keep it short and sweet. I mean, what is amazing is the amount of friendship groups that you have here, Mum. I mean, you've got old friends and you've got new friends as young as you. You've only just met them 2 years ago. Yes. And they're here at your 50th. And I think that shows that you're always open to so many wonderful people and you make friends easily, which is absolutely fantastic. Did Henry deal with your children?
Just one child.
But it's amazing. If I think about my childhood, it was an amazing childhood. You really were such a great mum at looking after us to bring us up at home. I think that we've turned out okay.
Absolutely.
I think our kids have turned out okay. I know it's a nice surprise to me as well, you know, considering all the wonderful cooking we had. Absolutely fantastic. It's so good to be able to be here to celebrate your 80th birthday with you. And you're so fit and healthy and fantastic.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. I'll read to that.
I mean, I have one little boy and I struggle to cope. I don't know how Mum did it with three. And no offence, absent father who was constantly travelling for work. Mum did all the heavy lifting in our household. She managed the three of us exceptionally. There was notes all around the house signed town clerk. That was her way of telling us that there was no ifs or buts about the situation. We were going to do what she said, and I think she did a very good job at making us do exactly what she wanted of us. As I grew up and became a little bit more mature and started working in a bar, I recall the lovely time that Mum and I used to spend together having a gin and tonic at 5 o'clock before I'd go to work and watch Bold and Beautiful together. That was some special time right there, I can tell you. I was always very interested in what Brock was doing next. But today, you know, Mum is such a great grandma to my kids and to Marcus's kids. She does such an amazing job. She's always there on the end of a FaceTime call for us. Living so far away is a problem, but look, we come back and the kids just absolutely adore seeing her because they feel so connected to her by how much effort Mum and the kids make to talk to them every other night. So, Mum, thank you very much for being the greatest mother I could have ever wished for, and the greatest little grandma. Raise your glasses, please. Cheers to joy. Mum.
My turn.
Excellent.
Oh, look, I can't believe that you said all these things about me, which... Right. I really just want to say thank you. Thank you to Marcus for setting up your house once again for us to have a lovely, lovely party. Thank you to darling David for being such a wonderful supporting husband and always being next to me and behind me when I needed him. Henry for flying over here with 2 kids. It's not easy coming over for a weekend. It's a big, big trip. And these dear little kids, they had to be picked up early from school and everything got organised to get to the airport. So thank you, darling. And Ben and Annie, it's great. It's just lovely to have you here too. And thank you, Ben, for a fantastic... Where are you?
Well, thank you, mate.
Thank you very much, darling. I knew I'd get a roast. And it's so lovely to see all my friends here. The friends from the gym, the friends from golf, the friends from years ago, old friends, new friends. It's wonderful that everybody's come. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Just lovely. Thank you.
Woohoo!